Where are you running there, Steph? Where are you going? Going for a 5K? Lovely. All right. For anyone that's interested, I'm going to talk a little bit about a really interesting anatomy and physiology topic, supercompensation. Has anyone ever heard of that phrase before? Supercompensation? I don't mean like having a truck outside. I don't mean that. But if it's real lifted, then you know. Now, so supercompensation is a response that your body has to a stimulus, if done appropriately. So for years and years and years, like going back to like ancient Greek times, they realized that if like someone was exposed to a small amount of a noxious stimulant, meaning something that's, you know, in big doses is going to cause harm, but in small doses don't seem to do all that much, like snake venom, for example. If you dose someone with a little bit of it every single day, they might build up a tolerance to it later on in life. They didn't have a phrase for it for years and years and years until a guy named Hans Selye came up with a theory called the general adaptation syndrome, but basically explains how someone would respond to a stimulus and what that would do for them and to them as a result. And it has of great interest someone like me because it's what makes sure that the workouts that we do here make you a fitter person. So when it comes time to talk about the general adaptation syndrome, there are 3 phases to it: the alarm, the resistance, and the exhaustion. The alarm for us, for lack of a better term, is doing our workout. Something that makes us challenged because it's outside of our normal spectrum of doing things. Like today, for example, maybe you've never biked that hard and gone into handstand walking. It's a novel stimulus that causes a response within your body. Well, this response is called the alarm, and it only occurs if the stimulus is novel. And that means either first time ever experiencing it, or it's harder, faster, heavier, for more reps, for longer duration than you've ever done it before. That's a necessary component to making sure that you get adaptation from this place. So there's an old saying in CrossFit, it's not that you need harder workouts, you need to go harder in your workouts. That is to create this alarm phase. So if we are not continuing to progress you with challenges every time you come in here and you aren't pushing yourself to the best of your ability, we do not get this first phase of the general adaptation syndrome. And why that matters is because the cascade of effects that hasn't happened as a result of that alarm phase are what gets us the benefits in training. So like, for example, let's just say on Monday you overhead squatted 155 and your previous best to that was 145. That would be a novel stimulus because you've never done that much weight before. Well, when that happens, your body kicks off a cascade of events to make sure that next time something like that comes up, you will be better prepared for it, which is, again, why the first time you do 10 wall balls, you're sore the next day, and then 2 weeks later you do 10 wall balls, you're like, what gives? I don't feel anything this time. Your body has adapted to the stimuli. So when we have this alarm phase, we actually start to begin to notice a little bit of drop in work capacity, and that is being sore. That is your body's like protective mechanism to be like, hey, chill the fuck out. Take a break. You're sore. Let your body recover. Now that can last anywhere from 6 hours up to 96 hours, depending on how deconditioned you are and how terrible the stimulus was. But that dip in actual work capacity is what we see here. It happens after our training and before we start to get better. The second those alarm bells go off and our body realizes we just experienced something that we've never experienced before, we kick off the phase that comes next, which is resistance, or I like to use adaptation a bit more because we are adapting to the stimulus that we had. So when that happens, the body's processes kick in to rebuild. The simplest way to think of this is muscle tissue, right? You did bench press yesterday, a little sore in your chest. A couple days from now, that soreness goes away, and all of a sudden you're better at bench press. What happened? Anybody know? How? You're right, but how? Yes, you got the novel stimulus, yes, but what happened there is that your body sensed what happened and said, next time this happens, like, I'll be ready. And it helped rebuild the muscle tissue so it's a little bit stronger than last time. That gentle progression only occurs if this occurs first, the alarm phase. So we have to make sure that when we come in here, the goal is to experience something that pushes us outside our comfort zone and something that's harder than we have done before, because if we continue to use the same back squat weight that we used 7 years ago, we're going to see less and less benefit from that same weight because it's no longer a novel challenge. So when that process kicks off, we start to see this rebound. And this rebound takes us from, our lowest point where we were the most sore and the least capable. We had the most fatigue, basically. Fatigue is like the opposite of having good work capacity, because the definition of fatigue is basically a decrease in work capacity. We go from here to about there. This is the resistance phase. This is your body rebuilding to be ready for next time. Now, what determines how long this is and how sharp that spike is your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep, your stress, and all the other habits you have that allow you to recover. I want you guys to think for a second. Let's say the person was right here again. They're starting to feel a little better. They're not as sore as they were a day before. And they decide to dig another hole, just like this hole. Goes down again. And then they're like, I've gone 2 days in a row. Why not go a third day? What's 4 days in a row? What's one more? It's 5. Now we have this giant deficit that our body's going to try to dig out of. So what I'm getting at here is that once this occurs, if our recovery is not on point, meaning we're not eating a certain way, we're not sleeping a certain way, we're not paying attention to how our body feels, we don't give our body the opportunity to rebound. That rebound is called supercompensation. It basically allows you to go above and beyond what you were before, and you actually rebound above your baseline work capacity for a small period before it establishes somewhere near normal again, but ever so slightly greater. So like, for example, if you were to take a muscle biopsy of, just say how much muscle tissue you have yesterday before the 5x5 bench press, and then you do a week later, you look at it again, you're not going to see a tremendous difference in change. But if you went from there to a year from now, that progressive of keeping doing this and just getting up a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more over enough time is how we raise this baseline of fitness higher. So what I'm getting at here is that we need to first make sure that all of our workouts are challenging. We then need to make sure that our recovery is on point. We are eating a certain way. We're listening to our body. We're sleeping enough so that we have that rebound. Because if you don't do those things, eventually it catches up with you. Now, in the experiments they did, they would do things like keep mice awake for as long as they could. And eventually the mouse would just die. Stress was so great, it killed it. Now, exercise can kill you. There are plenty of people who exercise hard enough to kill themselves. It does happen. But in the context of our gym, that doesn't really have a thing. No one's going to drop dead because they did Murph too many times in 1 year. What is going to happen, though, are those nagging injuries that don't seem to ever get better, never heal, because this part never occurs. So when it comes to us down here, the thing we're trying to avoid with our training, we want to go hard, and then we want to rest, and we want to rest enough times that when we go hard, we rebound from that without seeing any decline in fitness, which would be exhaustion in our case, or more aptly known in our sphere, overtraining. You start to notice that your fitness level is decreasing, potentially look at how many times you come here. And if you've come here every single day for the last 4 months, a rest day is in order. Or if you're coming here every single day and you sleep 3 hours a night and you're getting hurt all the time, maybe sleep a bit more. But the idea here is, again, we want to make sure that these things are all in balance. We're going really hard when we come here, and we're trying to do things that are pushing us outside of our comfort zone. When it comes time to adapt, we're allowing our body to recover in between. We're making sure that we have the molecular foundation for our muscles and our tissues by making sure we're eating quality food, we're sleeping enough, we're dealing with our stress, and then we're paying attention to our body so we don't get to the point of overtraining. Am I concerned with most people being affected by overtraining? No, I'm really not. But I do want you to listen to your body and realize that, it is okay to rest. Even though it's not in the 100 words of fitness to rest every so often, you should. The average person can only go hard 4 or 5 times a week. The other days are a little bit less intense, and that's not really maybe the best use of your time when you could be doing something else. Do you guys have any questions? Did I confuse everybody, or does that make sense? Everybody tracking? Cool, awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you listening, and see you next time. I don't know. See. Thanks, guys.